Grandpa does not sing. No singing.
Hi, I'm Rusty. I'm Amy's father. Karen's father and Jessica's father, and the first mystery is what I had to do with three such gorgeous people.
We wondered.
Well, look at Marilyn. Look at Marilyn. That'll answer it. Amy, I noticed you've been having a little trouble with one of your straps falling down when you were dancing. I'm not sure that's quite appropriate. I think you should really watch that.
Okay.
So, what Dave asked me to do tonight was share some stories from Amy's childhood.
Alrighty.
I'm one of only 3 people in the room that's known her all of these 40 years. And I can't remember any of that time that wasn't a complete delight. And I'm so happy to be here to help her celebrate this important day. So when Dave gave me this assignment, I said sure, and then I thought, and I thought, and I thought. And then it came to me, I said, I'm not sure Amy ever was a child. She was certainly a small person, but I seem to remember someone who was always kind of smart and mature and sensitive. And so it was harder than I thought to come up with these stories, but I do have a few to share with you. And the theme here is that you can see the woman and the little girl, like a lot of the characteristics that we all admire in Amy, we have been seeing since she was a small child. And so let's start with the fact that she's basically nocturnal. Or she would be if she didn't have other things that forced her into a daytime schedule. Well, that I can tell you that's one of the first things we learned about Amy. I mean, that was almost an immediate revelation, and Amy and I and Marilyn and Amy did some very serious bonding in the middle of the night for the first. It seemed like like a couple of years there while she figured out. And I don't remember. I only remember once wondering if this thing came with a money-back guarantee. There was anything I could do about it. And later on, when Madison came along and gave Amy a dose of the same medicine, I can say that I was always sympathetic, and I never once said, well, what goes around comes around. Till now. Till now. Okay, what else? Well, you probably all know that Amy is very loyal to her friends. Loyalty to her friends is one of her primary characteristics, and that was true all her life. And so I want you to know that whereas that's a very good thing in an adult, I remember a certain number of times when she was a child, and one in particular, she had a friend who lived across the street named Jenna. And Jenna's parents were very unorthodox, and they were throwing a party. And Jenna asked Amy to come over and keep her company during this party. And fortunately, Jenna's mom came over and said to me, well, it's fine if Amy comes over, but you got to know there will be some consumption of certain controlled substances. And so I immediately changed my decision and said, well, that's probably not a good idea. And Amy was furious, and when I tried to talk to her about it, all she would say is, but she's my friend. But she's my friend. And I'm thinking, okay, Amy, all right. And what comes next after that? She is my friend. But to Amy, that was the end of the conversation. That's all she had to say. And she didn't want to hear any other arguments or logic from me. And in high school, she ran with a pretty wild crowd, and 2 of them are here tonight. So Leah and Lori, and so we had discussions about them, I'm sure. And then the last one I'll tell you about, this is another characteristic of Amy's, and that is guilt. Amy is a guilt-ridden person, and I have no idea why. But I've got to tell all of you with small children, this is a parenting tip. try to make sure that they have a guilt complex by the time they're teenagers.
Kristen, you told me the same thing.
It makes it a whole lot easier. And so what would happen is that because Karen and Amy were only a year apart, they were kind of forced into pursuing a certain amount of their social life together and going out on weekends together and coming home together. And they had a curfew. They had a time that they were supposed to be home. And what I would do is I'd be sitting in the chair right by the front door. And they were always a little late, you know, always a little late. And Karen would go, you know, so you're sitting in the chair. But with Amy, it worked. It worked. She was like guilt-ridden about the fact that I was sitting there waiting for them to come home. And so I think, you know, even though they were often late, I think they probably got home earlier than they would have if Karen was in complete control. Because Amy was pushing her the other way. Okay, so, you know, those are just a few of the stories. I could tell others. She's always been competitive. I don't know if any of you have had the pleasure of sitting across her at a board game. I think she saves most of that now for Dave. But, you know, when she was little...
Pam and Alex have seen it for sure.
Oh, yeah? Yeah, I didn't think that Cutthroat and Chutes and Ladders could be put in the same category. That's sort of what we noticed when she was 4 or 5. So we got her all the way through high school. She was a joy. She was a delight. Then she went off to college, and that's